before we go, let us chit chat about the full moon with some channeled guidance and messages for my lovely viewers and listeners. There's a couple of songs that came to mind: The River of Dreams by Billy Joel and Once Upon a Dream by, I don't remember by who, but Sammy Fain, Jack Lawrence are the songwriters, and it's Sleeping Beauty. Okay, so for the River of Dreams, this is where people going on the adventure of reclaiming their own inner child. Okay, that's something sacred that is lost. When you tune into the longer episode, if you do, you might not have time, but we talk about narrow states of consciousness. Those are adaptive child, maladaptive child pattern behaviors. And so it's people who navigate life from rigidity and chaos, like any individual who has not healed their shame defectiveness button. Okay, so they don't like unmarked trails. They use the past, and that's why they call New Age people Luciferian and mystics and anything Reiki yoga. They keep using ancient textbooks versus knowing that the Holy Spirit and source and universe and God, it's one and the same. We can use dark matter, dark energy. And the truth is, because we're educated in addition to spiritual. So spirituality and sciences come together in the 5D plane, because the right use of power is when we have flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable brains. They are a clear channel, and they therefore are their own feminine, the divine, and then they're connected to feminine, and that's source. Their divine masculine, their mind. Okay, so they know forgiveness. They don't need Patrick Tiahan. They actively have healed, and let me read to you in case you don't tune in again to the long one. So as Patrick, he's a childhood trauma survivor. He's healed, and I always say healing, and he is actively a therapist who has a group. And that group are all those who are willing to heal. Okay, so forgiveness is the caboose. It comes not first. Pain is what comes after they decide. So with self-awareness, accountability, and regulation, those that have had a narrow state of consciousness life is how I'm going to organize it. It's not a rule. It's how I'm interpreting information and sharing it with you all as somebody who supports mindfulness, mindset practices, and as a channeler and a 5D mystic. So the grief comes after pain. Oh, and the mystics who call us bad psychologists, we're not trying to replace anyone. Actively, you come to person who has spirituality and holistic in the forefront once you're ready to explore the depths of you. And if you're not aware, a practitioner who is responsible, if I notice that you have a window of tolerance, I'll say, we have a window of tolerance here. We have structural dissociation here, and we want to contact someone to work with us that has sensory motor expertise, somatics, EMDR, and child parts work. So we want to accompany what we're doing, and actively, that's going to be the proposal for my one-to-one mentors or master class. And you don't have to, of course, but I will not share that, is what I'm trying to say. So the irresponsible spiritual practitioners and holistic, they do things like this. Come to tarot reading. It's going to replace therapy. Come and get your astrology chart. It will replace therapy. Come and do the shamanic ritual. It'll replace therapy. I've actively heard people do this. No. Come do Reiki. I'll heal your trauma. Yeah, no, again. And we could talk all day about it. Not right now, though. So a person who's willing to heal, they then go through pain because they're going to reconnect their emotional body, means they're going to then have grief. Then when they're ready, justice and empowerment to their self, and then maybe forgive, if at all. And for Patrick to write that, it means that it takes a journey. In fact, he shares all about it, how many toxic families and institutions, he says, are manipulative about not allowing someone to tell the truth or have a process when they've been abused. I'm going to not read all of it. You can find him on YouTube. But what I want to share as he closes out is forgiveness comes after you've had your day in court emotionally about what happened to you. And you can know the truth about who they are and who you are. So who they is where that family, unfortunately, and I know people who are healing, they have, the ones that I know, been able to forgive. Others have had to actively say, I want no contact. They don't talk about it like teenagers. And the spiritual people don't talk about our oversoul, divine masculines, as unawoke or energy vampires, dark auras, when we have narrow states of consciousness people who navigate life from codependent type patterns of behavior. Okay, so with that being said, here we are. Forgiveness, you are able to be here. The songs that I was sharing with you. So, the river of dreams, you know that that's something sacred that was lost, is that sense of security. So, you have your 1-year-old, you know how to regulate your nervous system with emotions and thoughts in the forefront. And that's what makes you a person who doesn't get rigid when you're dealing with uncertainties, unexpected, unwanteds. That's why you deal with it from your heart. Here, you get to find out more about your heart and you get to go with the flow. So you use your left and right. It's called an integrated brain. And that's why we heal trauma one person and relationship at a time, because we don't get pissy in our pants. You can have completely different political views and religious views, all of it. Pro-life, pro-choice. Nobody's going to have the tone of I know best. So our group thinking, when we meet narrow states of consciousness, we're still going to have this rainbow. When we meet expanding, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's what you're going to get. As the full moon approaches, you get to consistently expand your expanding consciousness herd, and notice the narrow. The narrow you actively organize so that you don't step on their rigidity or chaos, and then you leave them to hang out with other narrow states of consciousness. We're all inspired. We all can be muses to each other. In fact, it's really fun, this contract, which is why nobody's an energy vampire or dark aura. It's also why we don't chase our twin flames and our twin flames don't run away. It's also why we don't talk about anything of expansion, spirituality, awakening, kundalini as ego death, dark night of soul, like we're in laundry land. So we see above the fray, and that's for my 5D mystics that are tuning in right now. For those of you who are a person who's tuning in because you're curious, you are able to harness equanimity. You're able to harness your words better. You're able to be flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable. You're being able to be the authentic self. And the authentic self of you means that you're having fun being yourself and being ordinary, and then presenting polyamory, monoamory, religion, again, politics, doesn't matter. You want to talk to more people, not less. You have the opportunity because you are a person who does notice that the world, yes, is changing, and we have some people who like to shout and yell like Cusco, but then we have those who instead are teachable. And that's because we teach each other, because we have what are beautiful conversations in the middle of the night. And so the song, I walked with you once upon a dream. I know you, I walked with you once upon a dream. I know you. The look in your eyes is so familiar, a gleam. I love this song. And I know it's true that visions are seldom what they seem. I'm very not in tune. But if I know you, I know what you'll do. You'll love me at once the way you did once upon a dream, which actively does not know. That's how. To love, a person needs to love themselves first. So they have to own this. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because there's people who go with partners to therapy and they don't be vulnerable. So that's not love. And Stephen Porges didn't publish a book about what love is because the publishers said, people want suffering, Stephen. So they like shit like this. No, this isn't shit. I love Sleeping Beauty. But it is an illusion to think that a person from your oversoul will recognize you and actively do this thing that you just heard about, okay? First of all, we get to become people who know how to be vulnerable. So you transmute pain. It's not laundry Zen master, it's called emotions. Okay, so once you are doing that, that's why you can be in union with all people. And that's why not one of our oversoul is more special than the next. We're connected. That's also what you know as true. Now, yes, the twin flame connection is unique. And yes, it does activate the Kundalini awakening that I can attest from personal experience. The spirituality awakening, you are awoken to yourself the minute you know, use your human name, but that means you know your solo self, sense of self, relational, narrative, and core. So you have no shame button. In the absence of you knowing you with unconditional love, flaws, and integrity, and being able to stand and say, hey, Eric, I have a tail, I got a dad, and this is what you got. And doesn't matter how you say it, but in the absence of being able to do this, Nice to meet you. You're not loving yet. It's once you know how to do this, and then you know how to say, I'm thankful for the time we spent. So when you get rejected, when you get abandoned, when the whole injustice, betrayal, humiliation, those words really don't mean anything to healthy self worth, empowered, enlightened, divine feminine, not even a little bit. That's because we don't have the shame button, though, okay? So please remember, every person has a story. What I can tell you about shame is there is none here because I got a child centric environment. I'm lovable even as a cockroach. I'm lovable as all of it. If I break the law, I'm going to be handed over to the cops, and that's it. And then I'm lovable with all of every. So my lovely primary caregiver, I'm just letting you know, okay? So when you know how to be you, it's your whole 3-year-old heart, your whole one. Then you know love. Only then. Otherwise, there's other people for solace. So this full moon is all about true love for yourself, true love for people, and for my lovely 5D collective. It's a fun time for us because we get to keep harnessing the voices and stories and perspectives of those of us who are sciences and spirituality together here at IHP. I bring to you again mindfulness, mindset, and mindset practices and stories, and how easy it is for us, by the way, to clear karma and to do dharma because we own our brain. So we all do have this karma thing, but some of us do dharma because we are integration of the brain, restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, and we are also regulating. And so we know how to chit chat with narrow states of consciousness, not to project, not to take any hit, not to use boxing gloves. We just say, that's very great, Cusco. I love that you know what you want in life. Awesome. High five. Great job. That's it. So narrow states of consciousness, they don't notice anything because they haven't gained, again, visibility of their solo self. And so they don't live a life of meaning and connection beyond it. You cannot actively live one true spirituality if you don't know that we're all brothers and sisters with unconditional love, the way I got taught, by the way, by Jesus and God. And that's from here. And that's why forgiveness. It's an open heart. Actively, the past doesn't change because it already happened. That is what happens in the present. And if you're a brain that is like mine, you process any charges that come up, so any emotional depth. And you say, oh, look, I got emotions. Hey, Maria, what are we dealing with? Oh, well, let's see. I got to pick this. Oh, look, yes. Hey, 14-month-old. And I'm not joking. So basically, your emotions come up and your thoughts come up when you're dealing with uncertainty, unexpected, unwanted, and your heart is open at 5D land, and you go with the flow. Selflessness, effortlessness, richness. No, selfless, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. That's the flow state. Neuroscientists tell you it's not supernatural. Any one of you can do it if you want to do daily practices of resiliency. Otherwise, Zen master with laundry in your body and all the people who romanticize and demonize things, and we leave them to that story. You can tune into that long episode to hear about narrow states of consciousness. For this one, I wanted to share with you some full moon messages before we headed on out. And so again, thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe if you are inclined to do so. And if you know people who are into wanting to be their self and do want spiritual self-help practices, secular obviously included, because if we're not integrating Reiki, which is the universal love transmission sessions, if we're not integrating mindfulness practices in and of themselves, mindset will integrate mindsight, because mindsight comes from Dr. Daniel Siegel, who has taught it to me in my courses with him, and it involves you using the 3 pillars of your mind. So mindfulness practices, I know some people consider it belonging to 1 or 2 institutions, although it doesn't at all. It's a practice, but I can understand. So if I formulate for our membership content when it will be out, or in our one-to-one mentorship, or in the masterclass, something that involves mindfulness, and a person says, I don't want to do it, like with Reiki, we have theologians who have shared that they believe Reiki is bad energy. So if I have somebody saying, no, Maria, I don't want the universal love transmission meditation sessions because they're that formula. I want one without the Reiki. Although, FYI, anybody of you who is not aware, usually they begin with, you have to say yes. If you say no, the energy doesn't, because that's the part. There's always your permission is what, and it's an intelligence, FYI. But still, I know that some people could still feel uncomfortable. That's why I'm saying you make requests. I can definitely create the content. But yeah, for Reiki, it's active. You first ask permission. And when people say yes, then the field connects. So otherwise, it'll just be meditation with me and music. And really, I don't do it in a way of making you sit in silence, because this is where I don't know what your window of tolerance or welcome is yet. So, of course, I want to trust that all people are aware of themselves, but I have seen many people are not. And so I don't do anything that would involve something too deep. I make it a lot more logical. That way you're using your thoughts and you're analyzing, yeah, a little bit the emotions. But let's say we get a narrow state of consciousness, because the adaptive child tends to not notice they're a teenager, Cusco. So yes, they want on board with anything that's trending, basically. I know that by giving something soft, it should be okay. Versus those who give something, well, I'm going to leave that alone, because I've noticed that there are people, again, who don't care about their inner or outer well-being enough to go to get good healing with a good trauma therapist and then go and get on board with everything else. And that's why when Patrick makes it noted, you can't heal away your trauma by spending $1,500 on a trip to get, some spirituality, whatever. Yeah, it's not going to heal your trauma, because your trauma is a personal story. Also, it's in a pattern of behaviors that you will want to notice. Then once you notice it, you're ready to be different and become more of a functional adult and get out of those pattern of behaviors with healthy self-worth people. So yes, I can clear your aura. I have had Reiki sessions with people. They didn't want the personal development part. They just wanted the Reiki session. It's like a massage. And so it will unload. It'll clear away that which no longer serves you. But then you get to go and face the day-to-day. And what I have seen is that there are those who have made good use of it, but they've maintained a narrow state of consciousness. So they've maintained their teenage version, if you will. There are those who made no use of it, and they actively, and that's just sad. So yes, that is actively the saddest thing that a feminine will ever notice, is when you get to give choice points and you get to be present, and then you get to see, which is why, again, Patrick Tiahan, you can't heal away that shame, blame, fault, revenge cycle. And you can't, because the neuroplastic agent one of choice, no, this is our agent, all of us, it's imagination. Your brain is neutral. If your negativity pattern is what you do, you're going to armor yourself shut in it. And that's because you're using this with a shame cycle that says, I'm defective, inner critic. They're defective, outer critic. I'm defective, inner critic. They're defective. And then making up another bunch of stories, black and white thinking, splitting. So once you do something that I don't like, now you're bad, you're evil completely. I'm not even going to reason with myself. So this is the part of why a person, they can have Reiki, but they'll wire themselves shut into shame cycle and armor themselves in. And there's still hope, but with good therapy, not anything different. So yeah, when you meet people that actually go, it's not backwards. They actively are using their mind. They think they own it. They actively participate with Buddhists. Oh yeah, you should hear how they talk about Buddhism, all spirituality, all of Reiki, all of yoga. Oh, the ones that talk about demons, let's put that one to the side. But I'm just saying there are people who actively think that they are enlightened by being with Buddhist communities, and they're spiritual bypassers. And there's a bunch of them. And that's why, again, they got soulless, narrow states of consciousness. They're going to have soulless. And they're going to respect laws. So we actually mingle and tingle like the Ice Age herd. Sid, Diego Manny, Pacha, we bring in, and Cusco from the Emperor's New Groove. We got Little Mermaid. You bring them all in. Pinocchio on that island, off the island. Okay, so in this lovely planet, on this lovely planet, we're educated. We bring science and spirituality together here. The full moon's going to be awesome. And I look forward to, again, being back with you. So like, share, and subscribe. And if you know anybody who's interested in these types of conversations, you could send them our way. We also have IHP on audio alone, and that's Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and a lot more. Podcasters for Spotify, or Spotify for Podcasters is the original beginning of the podcast. So that's where you also find the option for Ask Maria, opinionated columnist episodes, audio alone. So while we wait for the potential here, you can make requests, and they will be audio alone. But if you do use Spotify, I can make video and audio content for Spotify listeners. So for that episode and those episodes on there, as long as you're coming in on Spotify, you will be able to also see video. So let me know. Again, it's through email, and you find my email anywhere. I'm pretty sure I have it visible on YouTube, okay? And if not, I'll go double check that because I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. And there's websites, and I've been online since online pretty much began. Side note, I liked MySpace. I did not like Facebook. I only got on it eventually because I got into becoming an online marketer and entrepreneur, and I knew that I had to. And now I'm like everywhere. LinkedIn, Instagram is my least favorite, but I am on there. Oh, yes. You don't have to be on all platforms. Actually, as an online marketer, I tell my clients, nope, you don't have to be on all of them actively. No, that one's not good for you. That one's not good for you. This one, yeah. And no, you don't want to put all your eggs in a basket, but you want to use your time effectively. That's why I really like YouTube. I hope to be able to continue using TikTok, but I'm appreciating YouTube for sure. And that's where, again, looking forward to being back. Thank you again.